In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an abandoned cart and an abandoned checkout flow that actually converts the people who were this close to buying from you. I'll walk you through the full email sequence, I'll show you some examples of each done well, and give you some advanced tactics at the end to take it even further. My name's Louis, I run Summitier Media. We're a specialist email and SMS agency for e-com brands. We've generated multiple millions in revenue for our clients. An abandoned cart and abandoned checkout flows are one of the highest leverage things we fix first when we start working with a client. If you want me to take a look at your existing systems and see if we can help, there's a link in the description to book a call. Right, let's dive in. So these are some of the most common mistakes I see when we're first auditing a brand's abandoned cart and abandoned checkout flows. The first mistake is only having one email. It might get a few people who maybe needed a reminder or genuinely forgot, but those who didn't purchase for a reason will need more nurturing as they go down the line. Another one is discounting far too early. That's going to train people to just add something to the cart because they know a discount's going to be coming. You're going to get a lot of recoveries in email one without having any kind of discount, so you don't just want to be giving away margin for the sake of it. Another is using the default Klaviyo time delays. I think if you use the templated abandoned cart and abandoned checkout emails, it's got a 4-hour time delay. That is way too long. I'll go through the exact timings that I'd recommend a bit later on in this. The other mistake we see all the time is a brand only having an abandoned cart or only having an abandoned checkout. They're two separate flows, you need both of them. And this is the difference. An abandoned checkout flow is triggered by someone actually initiating the checkout process. Rather confusingly, Klaviyo will sometimes have a abandoned cart name of a flow template, but the trigger is checkout started, so it can get a little bit confusing. I don't know why they haven't fixed that. And for abandoned cart, that's exactly what it sounds like. It's when someone adds something to their cart and then doesn't go to checkout and initiate the abandoned checkout flow. So this is a good place to start with the flow. You can get more technical than this, and I will go into that, but this is the absolute backbone you need. You can see that first email goes out after 30 minutes. None of this waiting around 4 hours rubbish. You need to be in front of them, and you need to be in front of them fast while they're still in buying mode. That just needs to be a reminder. You don't need to make this a really long email. It is literally just a nudge to get them to carry on and complete their purchase. We found a plain text email from the founder works really well as the second email. Again, I'll show you examples of all of these in a second. For email 3, you want to overcome some objections, because if they haven't converted by this point, there is likely something beyond just being forgetful that's stopping them from purchasing. They might be looking at a competitor, they might not trust your brand enough, so this is your opportunity to build that trust. And if you do want to add a discount, email 4 is the place to do it. You've given them a chance to convert without the discount, you've tried to get them over the line. For whatever reason, that has failed, and now you can dangle the carrot of a discount. And then email 5, again, this can be a sort of last chance on the discount. Plain text works really well on this, and that's what I'd suggest doing, but this can be a designed one if you want it to be. So now let's look at some examples of these emails and what you need to make sure you include on each of them. So for the first email, you just want a clear reminder of what is in their cart. Like I said, it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't want to discount them or put any pressure on them at this stage. And again, 30 minutes after they've abandoned their cart. You can A/B test this. You could test 15 against 45 or 30 against an hour, but 30 minutes is usually a good place to start. And this is a really good example here from EasyPlant. They're just showing them what's in their basket. They're not trying to be too clever with it. It's just a reminder. Here's a good example of a plain text follow-up email that would come out a day later. I won't read the whole thing, but you can pause the video and have a look if you want to. This, again, just needs to be plain text. No logos, no nothing. Short, personal, a useful tone, prompt questions. If there's anything that's stopping them from buying, you can always ask that in this. Not only is that going to give you valuable information, but also a reply is going to boost up your deliverability. So that's a win-win. And on email 3, you want to remove whatever's in their way. So there will be an objection of some sort by this point. It might be shipping cost. It might be they don't believe your product is going to do what you say it's going to do. They might be looking at competitors. It could be all sorts of things. So you want to think what the objections could be and address them in this email. So you can see here, these are the kind of sections you want to include. There's an us versus them table that compares this brand against other brands. It's also important to get a lot of social proof in this email, because whatever it is, 93% of people look at reviews before they make a purchase. So get those reviews in front of them. Don't make them go to your product page to look at reviews. Get them in the email. Again, in email 4, we're going for a discount in this flow, but if you're not offering discounts, you can just double down on more risk reversal. If you've gone for an us versus them, you could go more social proof heavy or vice versa. So you can see here, this is a really good abandoned cart email with some urgency from Crafted. You've got the timer on there. It's a 24-hour discount. You're showing them the item that's in their cart. This is excellent stuff. Super easy to set up as well. This would not take you long. And the final email in our flow is going to be another plain text email from the founder. This time it's checking in after the discount. You can remind them that there's 24 hours left or 6 hours left or whenever you want to send it. So email 5 is again a plain text email from the founder. It's similar to email 2, but rather than just being a reminder that they've left something in their cart, you're reminding them, building some urgency on the expiration of the discount or something like that. And you can also acknowledge that they haven't purchased at this point. Something obviously changed their their mind. If they don't buy from this email, you want to get something out of it. So you can ask them to respond with the reason that they didn't purchase. You could even drop a survey into this. I've done that with some brands and that's been really good. It gives you good feedback on your products. It can also mean you know what to talk about in the overcoming objections email, like an email 3. And then once this is all set up and the flow's performing reasonably well, you can move into some more advanced tactics to try and squeeze even more revenue out of these flows. The first thing I'd suggest doing is splitting by purchase history within that flow. Obviously, a new customer may need more reassurance. You can remind them of their welcome discount. You can speak to them slightly differently, whereas a returning customer, you can focus more on the product benefits, any new features you've added in, and you can speak to them in a way that you acknowledge that they have bought before. You can also personalize by product category. So if you're a supplement brand, for instance, and you have supplements for sleep, you have supplements for energy, you have supplements for muscle gain, you can address those directly in the objection handling emails. So you're speaking directly to the customer's pain point rather than giving sort of general things on free shipping or returns policy or things like that. And finally, you can customize the abandoned cart versus the abandoned checkout. Like I mentioned at the beginning, you do need separate flows, but the content can be the same initially. Once you've got everything else set up, it can be useful to split those out because they are slightly different points in the customer journey. Abandoned checkout, someone has got incredibly close to checking out and then has decided not to. Whereas abandoned cart is higher up the funnel. There may be more nurturing needed to get them to the point where they then add something to their checkout. So that is the full flow. 5 emails, 5 days. We're delaying the discount to make sure we're protecting our margins. The cart and the checkout, as I just mentioned, are 2 separate flows in Klaviyo, but the content can be the same, at least initially. Once that's done, you can layer in the more advanced tactics. The structure remains the same, but you can just tweak the tone and the content slightly dependent on where they are in the journey. If you found this useful, please like the video and subscribe. I put out new videos like this every week. And if you want me to take a look at your email setup, the link to book a free order is in the description. See you in the next one. Cheers.